welcome to Flair UK, Legends in Bartending. So today we have the amazing Tony Adams, and he's going to talk us through like his experience at Fridays, bartending, and everything else. So you, what I understand from just a few bits and pieces, you joined Fridays in 2002.
Yeah, I did late 2002. Yeah, early 2003.
So the year I won the UK, that was. I just put that in there. So did my name come up in any kind of way when you joined?
The menu, Rob. You're on the back of the menu.
Oh yeah, of course, forgot about it.
I came third in San Francisco and looked like an unbelievable Fridays as well. That picture, I remember the picture. But yeah, you're on the back of the menu, mate. When I joined, or shortly after I joined, anyway. First change, I think, first menu change. But yeah.
Oh wow, I forgot about that.
Oh, listen to him, forgot about it.
Actually, I generally did. So okay, in 2002, the Sugar Babes came out music, and also Oasis and Will Young, and the film at the moment was 8 Mile, obviously Eminem, which was quite a cool film.
Great film.
Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I don't know if that's anything good. So basically, which store did you join when you started Fridays?
So Nottingham. I was a student in Nottingham and joined Nottingham first, and I was there for I don't know a couple of years, and joined Haymarket from there.
Cool. So what did you do before Fridays?
So I was a student at the time. I was at school. I went to university in Nottingham. To be honest with you, Rob, I knew quite early on that was it. Just wasn't for me. I mean, I did it, I finished it, and everything else, but the actual, what I was doing, I thought this was. So I was kind of a bit in limbo. I'd been working in restaurants and pubs and stuff, as a kid, back home, and then of course when I was at university. But yeah, man, I was a bartender / student before Fridays.
Okay, so you went into Fridays. Did you ever go there for something to eat, or did you just go, I just want to check this place out and see what, or did you just wanted to become a bartender at Fridays? How did it come about you getting your first shift?
It's a good story actually, mate, because I've been in a couple of times as a guest over the years. I remember going to Sale Fridays when I was very young. God, that must have been early 90s, I would have thought. Maybe even late 80s. I don't know when Sale opened, but it was pretty hot and fresh at the time. I remember that. So I've been to Fridays, I knew what it was. I grew up in Southport and was quite aware of Flair because there was quite a good Flair culture up there. There's Maloney's and those kind of places, and so I knew what it was, and I was kind of like, well, look, if I'm going to make drinks, I'd like to do some Flair and make some cocktails. So I knew what Fridays was. I knew that was kind of the place to go. And I really enjoyed the idea of the professionalism of that side of bartending. It's a good training program. Seemed like a really good culture. People enjoyed it there. So I'd applied a bunch of times, and the sort of policy at the time was we don't really employ students. So luckily enough for me, good mate of mine, Eddie Waits. I don't know if you know Eddie. He's a good Flair in his own right. He showed me a few like my first moves, and taught me a little bit about it. Not much, but enough to do like a short bottle tin sequence. And story was, I went in and I was like, right, I'm going to get at least an interview here. Right, I'm going to do this. So I go in and I speak to a geezer called Dol Keith Brown on the door. And Dolly's a top bloke, really top bloke. And I said to him, look, can I speak to someone about a bartending position? And he said, unfortunately, we're not looking for anyone. I said, well, look, here's the deal. I've applied a couple of times. Would you let me make a drink that I'd happily pay for? And then if you do need someone, then perhaps you could call me first. And he was like, ballsy, I like it. So I stand up, and it's it's a Friday shift meeting. So I've gone in there around 5:15, and the man in his world stands up, and I was like, fucking hell, I'm in for it now. So I tried to catch a tin behind my head, and mate, I missed my hand by 6 inches. I was proper nervous. I did. It's true that. Anyway, so they did hire me off the back of that. So that's how I got into Fridays.
Yeah. So you started as a bartender straight away, no bar backing or anything like that. So
No,
did you understand all the Fridays standards and clutter? Did you enjoy that side of Fridays?
Yeah,
Did you was it?
I knew what it all was, mate, and everything. It's just part of the job. But if I'm honest, Rob, I was there for the flair, the cocktails, I was there to be a bartender. To be honest with you, that side of things and the things that makes Friday special came a bit later for me. I didn't know that initially. No.
So did you? I mean, learning the cocktails. Obviously, some people struggle with. Did you have any tips on how you studied, or did you have flip cards, or did you
I
just keep
tried.
making the drinks?
Yeah, I tried a lot, mate. To be honest, so I tried the flip cards. I tried this. I tried that. And do you know what it was for me? I don't know if this is pretty standard stuff, but I had a decent idea of the drinks. And I remember making a June bug wrong for ages. I basically put, I don't know, I can't even remember the recipe. I think it's 3/4 Midori, isn't it? Or half Midori, quarter banana, and quarter Malibu. I was putting Midori or Malibu the wrong way around. I can't remember.
Okay. Okay.
And but the reason, the reason it was, I learned the drinks from the speed rails, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
Malibu, Midori, and banana liqueur sat together, which happened to sit by Blue Curacao and Bailey's, and I was like, okay, cool. So that's a June bug, and that's a liquid bubble gum. Sweet. And then I kind of had an idea. I'm sure in the early days I was winging it a little bit, and then
Okay.
I firmed up the recipes from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's quite funny because every drink you mention, obviously, comes across with Midori. You seem to love Midori for some reason. Sandy Moat. I mean, how did that come about with Sandy Moat? I mean,
Oh,
obviously, Moat is the is Tony Adams in well, moving letters
it's an
around and stuff. Yeah, I can't even pronounce that. So how did that come about? The actual Sandy Moat.
So I did a gig with Scott Aubrey, and Scott said he always wanted to get an anagram of his name as one of the drinks in the Fridays manual. And it sort of planted the seed. And I was like, so John O. Parry, who was the head bartender at Haymarket at the time, was running the Master Bartender program, and he was updating the manual, so the training manual, the bar manual. And so he said, look, if there's any drinks you want to get in there, then now's the time. So there's a bunch of drinks, and Johnny O was what DK Madike Jallo used to call. He was one of the managers at Haymarket, used to call John O. Used to call Johnny O. And so Yuri put in a Johnny O. Dave Bello put in something else, so whatever, I can't remember. And I said, well, so I sat there with Jamie Lahane. You remember Jamie, don't you?
Yeah.
I sat in Planet, and we came up with two anagrams. One was Sandy Mo, and one was Not Sam's Day. And then we worked backwards from there. And I was doing a bit of work for Midori at the time. Had a couple of moves with Midori that just weren't that great, but I was like, sod it, we'll do it. And I kind of made a challenge-centric cocktail that I could make in the challenge. That was what I was thinking. So I was flirting a little bit with vodka at the time. I was doing some bits with, I had to put Grand Marnier in there as well, didn't I? Midori, Grand Marnier, apple juice, and then obviously the flame cinnamon on the top. So that's where it came from.
Okay.
Not that starting a story, to be honest.
No, it's great. No, it's good. I mean, because it's just was one of the ones where you just go, oh wow, because then I knew about the Sandy Moat and where it came from and everything else, and it just was obviously I knew there probably would be a little bit more to it than just obviously just the name and the drink. Did you buy into the uniform?
Of course, yeah.
Was it? Did you have badges back then,
Yeah,
or was
on the collars.
on the collars? Okay, cool.
So it's
Because I was so because when I started, it was like we had the braces and the badges, and you had to have a minimum of 10 badges, and obviously you had no recognition ones just yet. So you had to get these badges from all your friends and family. So you have like I love West Ham or freaking I love my mum or something like that. So you have these 10 badges that you couldn't like just go and buy elsewhere. So the first 10 badges normally probably were the good things because they were probably your personality because they were all you had indoors and stuff like that. So you didn't have the wacky hats or anything like that. You had a decent uniform. Wow. So that was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So obviously, got your studying tips. Let's see everything. So I've got loads of lists of questions for you, mate. So obviously, in 2002, you were bartending. Do you remember your first competition?
Yeah, into the Roadhouse.
Is it Roadhouse? How did you do?
Oh, rubbish. I didn't come last.
Okay.
I didn't come last. I've never come last at Roadhouse. But I must have done, oh God, 5 or 6, 7 of them. when I was at Nottingham, maybe more. I don't know. Yeah, it was good, man. It was a great day out. I loved it.
I mean, obviously you've judged the Roadhouse, okay? So obviously you've seen like when you done your first Flair comp, was you producing a drink or was you just throwing a bottle around? And because obviously Flair now, I mean, you get judged on obviously your flair, the accuracy of the drink making, and I know you, you're so strict on your judging, and which is a good thing. It's an amazing thing, and you're very good at what you do as well. You know what you're looking for with anything as a judge, is I think people don't understand, especially Roadhouse judging, how it how accurate it is. You know, that you're looking at the WFA does coming into it a lot, but if you don't know what is good and what is difficult and what is current, you won't be a good judge.
Yeah.
And you tick all them boxes. And how did you find, obviously, from when you started at the Roadhouse to where you judge now, for instance, or not now, because of poor Roadhouse. Yes,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
apologize. Big loss,
yeah.
huge loss.
I'm really
Yeah.
sad about.
But okay, back to like obviously, you know, when obviously you was judging in its heyday, how different was the change from when you did your first comp to now?
Yeah, huge, mate. I actually think there was a turning point. I thought about this a lot over the years, and I thought it was 2007. There was a change in the rules, and variety came in as a category. And I noticed at that point there was a bit of a shift. I think variety came in, not, it didn't change the way people competed. I think it was a response to the way people were competing. So when I first entered the Roadhouse, obviously I entered as one of those sort of like, new Fridays guys. I thought to myself, if I make a drink and it's a proper drink, then I'm probably not going to come last. All right. So then it's a case of, how do I offer a little bit of personality? And one thing I've always kept through the competition side is, let's keep this as true to bartending as possible by being legit. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to smile or look someone in the eye in the crowd or whatever, make sure it's the same way you do things on the bar. So I don't pre-rehearse anything like that. I never did. And it was kind of like, I used to look at someone in the crowd and just, give them a smile, just like you would at the bar.
Yeah.
So it kind of, that chilled me out a little bit. And whilst my flair was, mate, it was rubbish. Of course it was. But I made a couple of drinks. In those days, it was a 1 ounce and a 2 ounce pour at the end of the bar. You did at the start of your routine, and it was, everyone did the same things. Did a bit of glass flair, then you did, a bit of bottle and tin working flair, a bit of bottle and tin exhibition flair, and if you add it, a bit of 2 tin bottle and a bit of 2 bottle tin. But obviously now, went through, and it's, God, man, the standard now, isn't it? I look at the stuff that Stifa posts online. I was looking at stuff Dennis was posting, Dennis Triffanoff the other day. Mate, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah, it's
I will say on that, Rob, which I think is really cool. Something's started to happen over the last couple of years, I've noticed. I see Ivan Usov and Ollie Sabina posting some really cool, well edited, quite commercial videos. I think that's a really positive step for Flair, because I'd like to see it become a little bit more mainstream and a bit more,
yeah,
not a sideshow, if that makes sense, because I think there's
yeah,
too much effort and too much quality goes into it.
yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah, well, I posted a thing like about a few weeks ago saying like Flair bartending being in the X Games because it's quite rustic and like everyone wears jeans and t-shirts when they're flaring. And but totally agree with you. I mean, like it's where's the next step? I mean, you've got like such a variety where Flair fits into. You've got the ones where you could just, you can clean it up. You can just do a normal. And when I say routines, most of the Flair bartenders I come in contact with over the years, they're all like ex-break dancers, and so they understand about choreographing
Yeah,
and and that to me I think is the way forward because as much as a Flair bartender will watch a 10-minute routine, and it'd be great to watch, the average Joe that walks into a bar,
100.
you would show a 2 or 3 minute routine, they capture that. So I think that you have to find that balance between the two. And at the end of the day, it's you want people to be educated, and you want to show them, like the beauty of Flair, really. So I mean, there's so many different varieties and different styles, and I think that's what's so good. That's what I think people do love about Flair bartending. You don't have to be this pub. You know, there's so many different style of bartending that you can take away from it.
No, mate,
So
all the best bartenders have had, all of them. I mean, best Flair bartenders, excuse me,
yeah,
is that they've all had a presence on stage, and some obviously everyone's different with that style. But the guys who can the crowd can relate to and bounce off the crowd the best, in my opinion, they offer the best routines. You look at the quality of Nicholas on stage. He was different. He was dark. He was moody, but he was you couldn't take your eyes off him. Christian Del Pesce, the music, Tom Dyer was technicality. He was a little bit vulnerable in the early days, and he really developed into a real sort of showman. And it was cool, man. That I think that I mean, look, I'm sure we'll touch on it later, but to your point, I'd love to see. I don't think the answer to Flair is in bartending, but I do think it's in the connection between the guest and the bartender, or the crowd and the bartender. I'd like to see that.
So on some of the moves, yeah, I mean, James Todd always laughs and jokes that most of his routine is stolen from other people. But some of your stuff's like obviously the actual bottle in the apron. How did that come about? Did you like, is that your own work, or did you see that in the past?
No. So I was doing this when I moved to London. I started to practice at Bayswater when I was at Haymarket, and at the time, Flo Burren was practicing with Ilias, Kousis, Babs Loom, a couple of other people, and Nicholas St John. So, and that was like the start of Flair Motion. And in the end, I was good friends with Flo. And when Nicholas opened a school at Brooksby's Walk in Homerton, it's sort of the first Flair Motion school. I was practicing there most days, to be honest with you, Rob. And so the culture was, you've got to be yourself. You've got to be original. If you're going to win a competition, you have to bring something new. You have to offer your own style. And so that's what that was about. So it was me looking for ways to do things differently. And I was wearing an apron every day at work. It made sense.
It's good. So that's your original one. You didn't take that from anyone. That's your own personal one. That's really good. That's good. That is. I like that. How often? How? I mean, obviously master bartender as well. And obviously anyone that's a master bartender understands how hard it is to do, study, and everything else. I mean, did you break it down so that you spent X amount of time flaring to X amount of time studying, or how did you do that? Or just you just
That's a good question. I think I've kind of put the Flair on hold a little bit whilst I was doing the master bartender thing. I started it in Nottingham and finished it at Haymarket. And actually going to Haymarket, there was 3 other master bartenders there at the time. And that was really cool because I don't think I fully understood how hard it was. I just thought you had to learn all the cocktails and learn the sensitivities word for word. I didn't realise how difficult it was, to do I don't know how it is now, but there's an away leg, at Covent Garden for your service bar. So you'd have to make just the standard drinks that came through to show you could do it elsewhere. And at the home level, you get a really challenging ticket with, push-ins and God knows whatever else you've never heard of and never going to make twice. So I didn't appreciate that, mate. But I thought it was a great thing to do. Obviously, there was a little bit of a pay rise, which was quite nice. You wanted to wear the hat and you wanted to be, a professional. I thought if I'm going to do it, I might as well, do it properly, kind of thing.
so you still got the blue cap, yeah. So you still got one. So so you still got it indoors.
I don't know where it is, mate. It's in a box upstairs in the loft somewhere, but yeah, I've got it for sure.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I've got
there.
a few bits in it. So.
Well, I say, like being a Haymarket bartender myself, you realise like the amount of prep that's involved is just incredible, and also how much work has to be done behind the scenes. I think people don't understand that. Obviously, I had Rob Gilks on the other day, and some of the sales just alone were just absolutely amazing. I think that's why I went from Lakeside to Haymarket. I just couldn't get my head around how you do a £2 service bar, £2.5 service bar. Go Haymarket, you're doing £5 in the morning, £5 in the evening, till 7 in the evening, and just the volume of drinks. And I think people don't understand that side of it. I mean, well, did you have any strengths or weaknesses? Did you prefer front bar to service bar, or
I,
did you? I mean, what was your strengths?
I much preferred front bar. I much preferred it, Rob. I enjoyed I always enjoyed trying to get tips out of people. I thought that was a really cool thing to do. I thought
Yeah,
if I'm going to do a trick, I want to get paid for it. If I'm going to do Flair routine of any description, you know, and but it's that sort of the the triangle theory or the sort of balancing elephant thing with Fridays is that it's guest company and of course the employee, the bartender in my case. I was like, well, obviously I want the company to earn some money out of this, obviously, so we've got our jobs.
yeah.
Now, my guests have a great experience, and I want to make sure that I earn my tips and have a good laugh doing it. And that was kind of more of a front bar thing than a service bar thing for me. I enjoyed the challenge of the service bar, and the culture when I went to Haymarket was if you can't do it, you're not going to get the shifts. That's it. You're not
Mm.
good enough.
Do, do you use any the Friday stuff in your own business today?
Yeah, for sure. I'm heavily influenced by Fridays, as you would imagine, and so is Pete Marshall and Vinny Reed and all the other guys who, run small businesses. I have one major difference in the way Fridays does it, and I think this is more of a compliment to Fridays than perhaps a negative. But I always felt Fridays focused their culture at the bottom, at dubs, bartenders, chefs, door hosts, whatever. And I focus more on the managers and go top down, if that makes sense, and that works better for me. I think Fridays is it's special in that respect. I don't know too many businesses that manage to have such a loyal following of
Mm.
just normal guys. Do you know what I mean? It's really cool. But yeah, that's the only difference. But that side, mate, I mean, go into one of my kitchens and you will see,
The
you know,
difference.
yeah, well, yeah, mate. I mean, we have a role called Expo. I know that doesn't exist at Fridays anymore, but
Mm.
that they,
Well, I'd love to, I mean, I've been obviously these lockdowns just drive me crazy. So I've been like wanting to obviously see Pete's place and your place. I mean, have
awesome.
you always had have you got a passion for burgers or something, or did you just like this is what I want to do, or
Not,
just
no,
no, it just came about, yeah.
look, mate, it's one of those. I think in my case, I just got to that age where I didn't have my wife and I didn't have any kids at the time or anything like that, and I just I was working for Pete and Vinny as a GM for God, it was nearly 6 years in the end, and I sort of rolled the dice and said, look, it's kind of now or never. I was in my early 30s. I think I was 33, just about to turn 34, and it was kind of like if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it, and I've always wanted to do it, so I'm doing it, and that was it. So I rolled the dice, found a shop first, which happened to be in Sidcup, and it, honestly, mate, just happened to have no burgers in that area, and I thought, well, you know, I'm not
Place,
I'm not a food guy, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do one thing really well. It was all I said to myself. So
yeah.
I'm definitely going to specialise, and then there was no burgers, and that was that, mate. I was selling
Do you
burgers.
ever do you have a cocktail menu at your place?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a long time, mate. It worked. The drinks were really kind of where we made our GP up kind of thing, and we were
Yeah.
able to offer real good quality burgers, if I do say so myself.
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
yeah, and perhaps accept a marginally lower GP, and it worked like that for us. People were drinking less at the time and eating out more. That sort of obviously changed massively now. No one eats out at all. But yeah, we have a pretty strong cocktail menu. We do sort of long drinks that are quite citrusy that sit alongside fatty burgers generally. So
Cool. So
yeah.
have you so like how many drinks on your menu then? Is it like
So we've got two bartender's choice, which are just some sort of rum punch or other. So one at the minute is actually rum based, one's vodka based. They're bartender's choice. What's on the back bar? They change all the time. They come in bottles. They're cheaper. They're pre-batched, and we sell them on
what?
take. Then we have the main menu of things that are just like classics, porn star martinis and mojitos and stuff that everyone orders. And then we've got a couple of twists on some more boozy batch stuff, like we do a peach Negroni, we do a banana old fashions, things like that. So stuff you've heard of, but perhaps a little bit more accessible. So,
So Sandy Moat didn't make the menu, no?
nah, mate, now that you said it, I have to revisit them. Forgotten about
So
that.
okay. I mean, um, Cocktail the movie, love it or hate it.
Love it, mate.
Um,
Love it, mate.
yeah.
One of the best. Awesome.
Okay.
I
Did
used to
you I
fabulous.
mean I mean
Getting stinking or something I stir or shake. I think I can still do it.
yeah. I just, so, I mean, obviously, like people hate it, they love it, a bit like Marmite, really. But I mean, I loved it. I thought it was just a brilliant film. I just think it's a happy-go-lucky movie. I think it's just one of the ones where some of the dialogue in it. So it's like the bartender that obviously done the dialogue is just spot on. It's just some of the stuff like I always felt like if I had a bad day at work, put that movie on, I'm back in the game. so,
Yeah, mate.
did you ever go to the first ever TGI Fridays in Manhattan?
Yes, I did.
Did you? Okay,
I
tell me a bit more.
So I went there with Miller Taylor. I don't know if you know Miller.
Okay.
Big bald geezer from he worked at Nottingham Fridays and Covent Garden and all kinds, living room for years. A really good
Yes.
bartender, by the way, really good. Yeah, so me and him went to right. So look, we're gonna have 3 or 4 days in New York, and then we're gonna go down to Vegas, and we're a few days over there. So we went on this bit of a lads trip out there, and we got to New York and went, well, we better go to the original Fridays. So we get to, is it first and 63rd? Is that where it is, or 63rd and
Yeah,
first?
67. Yeah.
That's it. And we got there, and I was like, right, that's definitely Fridays. I can see it, but it says Baker Street above the door, and it was actually like
Okay.
it was like a Sherlock
What year is this? What year is this?
2004, January 2004.
Okay, yeah, cool. Okay.
But yeah, yeah. So we went over to there and went in, and mate, honestly, I don't know if you've been there or not.
Yeah, I
Um,
have. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
in the bar, I can't believe how tight it was. I was like, wow, that bar is
Mhm.
so tight. And there was still a picture when we were there anyway. There was a picture that was signed by Tom Cruise and is it
Really?
Brian? Yeah, is it Brian?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Because
no,
I went in '97.
did you?
And yeah, it was. So I've only been with Fridays since '96. I joined in '96, and I was in the process of doing my masters, and I was doing a New York Marathon, and I was like going, I want to check this out, and it was called uh, Bookers. It was
Oh,
an Irish,
oh
and
yeah.
so because so I can remember if it was just because it was pelting down with rain, and because I don't know, it really is cheesy, but the only scene in Cocktail when Tom Cruise walks past and walks in, that was me. so so I
Did you?
walked in there and the shotgun bar, the mirror on the back, everything as I watched in the movie
Yeah.
was there. Apart from obviously TGI Fridays above the door. So and I went in there and spoke to this woman behind the bar, and I didn't see any, like what you said. I didn't see anything, and I just said to the woman, I said like, "Yeah, I'm a Flair bartender in the UK with TGI Fridays," and I said to her like, "Can I, can I, can I just be honest with you?" I said, "One of my dreams is the Flair behind the bar, Tom Cruise Flair behind," and she was like, "No way!" She was like, "Okay," so she goes, "Come on, come behind this." I started flaring because it's all liters out there, isn't it? Liter bottles. So
Yeah, yeah.
I had this empty Cabernet Sauvignon bottle, and I was flaring with that, doing bottle and tin behind the bar, and everyone was
Oh,
just going mad. And I was
well,
like, "Yay!
that's
I've
great.
done my cocktail dream." So yeah, so oh, it's absolutely awesome. So where was this signed picture? Was it in the restaurant part? Was it
No, no, no. It was behind the bar, in the middle of the bar.
behind the bar? Wow.
It was on one of the
Because
shelves. Behind the
I
shelf.
always I always thought to myself, Friday should have brought that back and just put some shows on there, and that's history. That is history, and it's just sad it's gone somewhere else. But yeah, great movie, absolutely awesome movie. So with bar teams, which is the best bar team you've been in part of?
No, no question. It was the Haymarket 2004 team. No question. They were a brilliant team.
But some of the names you passed over, you said Jamie Lehan. Who's Jamie Lehan?
Jamie Lahane. Jamie
Yeah.
Lahane. So he was a master bartender. It was John O'Parry, who was a master
Yeah.
bartender. I certified as master bartender then. And John O. So Jamie, John O, Tom, and me. We all did did New Year's Eve that year. So it was exclusively master bartenders New Year's Eve, which was very cool. Um,
Yeah.
it was cool. But yeah, so they were the guys there. Sylvia Raimondo was there, and she was fantastic. Great flairer, like
Mm.
super professional woman. Really, really good bartender. Really good. Who else was there? Christ. Dave Bello was a barback. He went on to bartend at Fridays and Lab and all kinds of places. Bit of a sort of industry legend. I was like, I can't remember. Oh, Chris Skeldon was there. He was a very good bartender too. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Ed
a really.
Fellows? How did you meet Ed Fellows?
So
Did you meet?
I'd actually wanted to join Covent Garden Fridays and transfer down from Nottingham, and there's 3 applicants for 2 jobs. It was me, Jay Dutoit, and Gav Smith. And unfortunately, Jay and Gav got the job, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, fair enough. You know, and then Jono called me and he said, look, I spoke to Ed, you know, and he said that you'd be interested in moving down. We need a bartender. Would you come down and have a chat and do a sort of OJE trial shift kind of thing? And that's how that came about. But yeah, I knew Ed Fellows, you know, really well. He was a really good influence on me as well. He was a really good guy.
Yeah, I just find it amazing. Like, I must be a bartending geek because every time you hear a name, like you go, "Oh yes, I know him," like that. And it's like, because obviously I've just touched base last year or so with like Lee Miller, and the guy was just an idol to me when I joined Fridays, and I was just like, you know, like this is the guy I want to be. This is the guy I want to like inspire to get close to. Was there anyone like that within Fridays that you, or in, no, it doesn't have to be Fridays, just around that you like the style they worked, and you sort
Yeah.
of not imitate the person, but go, that's where I want to be in a year or 2 years' time.
Yeah, when I first joined Fridays at Nottingham, the bartending was good. Vinny Reed was there, Miller Taylor was there. It was good. So you kind of wanted to be capable, if that makes sense. You know,
Yeah,
certifying something, but being capable, being able to do the job. You know, not letting any of your mates down, banging in the sales at the weekend. You know, that kind of stuff. So that was the first thing. So the people around me, in answer to your question, and then sort of in the broader sense, obviously your ugly mug was on the back of the menu, so I was like, this
yeah.
guy then.
I was just, who's this guy?
Who's this guy? No,
Yeah,
itself, that was very cool. And then, you know, I looked at Nicholas St. John, Christian Delpeche, as everyone did, and was like,
yeah,
wow, you know, their routines. Tom Dyer, man, Tom,
yeah,
like, remember UK final 2003, mate. That is one of the best routines I've ever seen. Not because he was the cleanest, but just the atmosphere. The first time I ever did 3 bottles tin, it was just, mate, you know, yeah, it was wicked. Yeah, really cool. So
yeah.
nice.
No, it's just absolutely. I mean, as I said, I mean, I'm so glad I was around the time with Nicholas and everything else, because I do talk to him through social media, and because like same with like Lee Miller, I've always been there but not been there, so I've always been in the background, so I like watching, and then I'll come out and go, yeah, I used to watch you, and they go when they turn around and go, yeah, we know who you are. And I'm like, he knows who I am, like this, because I was always the guy that was always, because when with competition, with Flair competitions, when you're winning, it's great. You know, you've got the money. You just cut off, right? Oh, you come back on, it's all right. So yeah, so it basically goes into like, but when you're not winning, how are you going to pay your bills? So you sort of end up just going, right, okay. So, but at the time, I mean, obviously Nicholas was winning, and obviously Tom Dyer was coming through the scenes. But at the time, yeah, Nicholas and Christian Del Pesh were always the big names and everything else that you sort of inspired to be. But I was like, I always wanted to be the best bartender. So I always wanted to be able to tick all the boxes.
Yeah,
So I think we talk about it quite a lot, and I think the what I call the best bartender is that guy that's in the local pub who knows everyone's names,
of course.
who inspires to improve all the time, but it doesn't have to throw a bottle around. He's just the best bartender there is. So
100.
he makes the perfect cocktails and things like that. And I think that is something that needs to be brought up sometimes in interviews, kind of thing, where you go, yeah, this guy can flair. He's a great flair bartender, and I've seen flair bartenders do events and they crash and burn because they don't know volumes of people. That's the reason why like Haymarket Service Bar is like the best training camp you could ever have if you want to know how to volume sell drinks. So I think
I
to
remember
anyone that has,
you're right, mate. I mean, my first night there, I was like, I thought I was decent, you know, sort of been doing Saturdays at Nottingham. Like maybe. I started doing Monday night there, and I remember the sales record at Nottingham was about 2 grand. I remember we did like, on literally a Monday night in Haymarket, it was like 2-3, 2-4. It was more than I'd ever done before. And I was like, Christ Almighty, wow! And it was like the thing about Haymarket was, it wasn't Pepsis and things like that. People came to that bar to drink. People came to that restaurant to have a cocktail.
Yeah.
And busy be like, bro, you're fucking hell. And you're like, wow,
Mm.
what? Um,
'Cause I went from Lakeside picking up Collins glasses, and your hand gets used to picking up three Collins. And in Haymarket, your hand has to develop to be able to pick up four Ultimates. So you're always picking up Ultimate glasses and stacking them. And I just remember like the service bar being like it looked like a brick. You made big brick houses because the service bar was so small that you ended up stacking the glasses. So it was like your one's the one at the top and your one's the one at the bottom there. But it was just, yeah, it was an amazing experience. Haymarket was, and also I keep forgetting it's not there because in your head, like same with the Roadhouse, you'll end up probably walking into Covent Garden going, where is it? Where is it? And that's just a shame, absolute shame. So, but yeah, absolute amazing that is. So, so what do you think makes a great bartender then?
um, so aside from friendliness, professionalism, and knowledge, I'm sure you're asking.
Nice,
Well,
nice, like that.
no, do you know what, mate? I think you touched on a lot of it there. I remember seeing bartenders who I would call them legit guys who um, it wasn't like a show that was prepped and it was a little bit like Jamie said to me once, and he was really um, yeah, he said the magicians who could just like pick up something off the bar in front of you, like your phone or whatever, and do something cool with it. They're the ones that like knock your socks off, aren't they? Some guy's got like a little velvet box on the back bar, and he turns around and goes, "Give me a coin," and does something with his velvet box, and he goes, "Yeah, it's magic, but it ain't, mate, is it?" And he goes, "And that's what you've got to do." And so, in answer to your question, I think the guys who are, literally do the basics, turn up on time, and they'll have a laugh with you, and they play hard and work hard. I think
Mm,
that's important. I think that a desire to improve is very important, and an understanding that your guest is paying good money to be there, and you're in charge, or well, not in charge, but certainly one way or another, you're going to help add to their experience. So
mm,
treating people with respect and dignity, trying to serve people in time, serving lots of people together, keeping order, making sure guys don't, girls obviously, but people don't have one too many. Perhaps there's a million and one things that goes into that corner of the bar, and it's like your own little business for, however many hours you're on shift for. I think
mm,
those they don't necessarily have to be flair bartenders. I don't actually think that the best bartenders are flair bartenders. To be honest with you, I think that's just a part of bartending that you know it's just a
mm,
part of it, right? There's loads of great bars. I mean, Christ, mate, there's so many. But answer to your question, you've got to be quick, you've got to be polite, pleasant, professional, and also, one of the team too. I think that's really important. Respectful of others, and they're important values. I think you learn in the bartending
I
world.
think that's the reason why I bought into the theories. Maybe just the geek and stuff like that, but there was like so many theories in Fridays that sort of stuck, and there was one called like a starburst theory where everyone was part of the team thing. So it was like one of the ones where you don't open the doors, you don't cook the burgers, you do not, but you make the drinks. So, but without that person doing their job and that person doing their job, your job is irrelevant. So
Mm.
you really understand, you buy into that, like, like a football team.
Yeah,
If everyone's basically, defenders do not go up start shooting in the goal and things like that. Their job is to defend. And if when people realise that their job is just as important, and you can't do your job without them, it
100%.
becomes an amazing team. And I think as well, like you can have an amazing bar team, but if your restaurant is terrible, then it falls flat. And I think so. Sometimes everyone doing their part is just as important as just that one big star. And I think that's when you realise making a few cocktails, you sort of come quite vulnerable to it. So, but yeah, totally agree with you. So, obviously everyone has to play the part.
I've definitely been guilty of being a little bit arrogant at times. I think that's part of it, and I think there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, obviously.
Mhm.
But to your point, you're absolutely right. I think when you get a little bit older and you sort of realise a little bit that like you say, starburst theory. I've not heard that one before actually.
Yeah,
you know,
Old school though.
yeah, mate. Just don't be a dick. You know,
Mm,
uh,
yeah.
it took me a while to learn that. To be honest with you.
Well, I mean, before I even became a bartender, I used to go to a place in Southend called Churchill's, and I used to be the guy at the corner of the bar not being served, and so all the pretty girls got served first, and the bartender was known for that. He was so with all the nice people and everything else, and I was the guy that was left at the back, three deep, and I was like, never will I serve
Yeah,
someone before somebody else. I was very much to the point where when I do become, if I do become a bartender, if it ever happens, I will make sure, and it's stuck in my head ever since. And but there is an arrogance in bartending, but there's a nice arrogance as well. I mean, I love the arrogancy sometimes, like the Roadhouse, like I'm too cool for school kind of thing, and I love that. And I think that there is a need for it, but there also is that other kind of style of bartending, which is I can't do enough for you kind of bartending.
yeah.
And but I think that's the industry we're in, and I think it's a great industry to be part of.
Just on, yeah, I totally agree, mate. Listen, on the Roadhouse thing, I take that, but never forget how professional them boys were, and chicks, obviously. I mean,
Mm,
like to a man, everyone that was in there, they were
yeah,
buying sales. They were buying sales out. Now,
mm,
yeah, you might say, in the Fridays manual, it said the arrogant bartender's the worst kind of bartender. I get all of that,
yeah,
but arrogant in a way, the sort of what was it called, success syndrome. That
yeah,
is killer.
different.
Basically not pulling weight on shift within your bar team or within your restaurant or whatever, or your bar, whatever it might be. You know, those guys were wicked, and all the best bartenders and all the best bar teams ultimately are professional. They do the prep, they look after the guests, and have a laugh along the way, in my opinion.
I think it's like saying like TGI Fridays is Mickey Mouse and Roadhouse is Batman. It's the only way you can describe it, really, because one's squeaky kind of clean and the other one's quite cool and quite rustic. So you
Yeah,
think to yourself,
I
that's
like
always
that.
came to me. It's like because they all wear black, don't they? So it's like they're just too cool for school. So that's just the way the thing is. But yeah, it will be. Roadhouse will be. So I've made so many good friends in the Roadhouse, and yeah, absolute quality bartenders as well. Absolute quality. Yeah, completely agree. Do-do-do-do. Okay, we've done that one. Flair. Um, so obviously we touched on it because the thing is like you said like obviously the way you like to see where it's going is more like mainstream than anything else. So you mean like that you can put it on TV? Do you mean instead of
No,
like a dirty secret or something?
not, not necessarily. So the best flare move I ever saw was Frodo's straw trick. You know, shout out to Frodo. I know he's not with us anymore, but cool guy, great bartender. And he did that straw trick. The one where he flicks it
Yeah.
out and it's yes, and he catches it again. Mate, that is unbelievable. And I'll tell you why. Because whether you have you're a multiple world champion like Christian Del Pesce, or whether you are just a person off the street who's buying a drink, that is absolutely the coolest thing you've ever seen in your whole life. And you know, I forget the initial question about the mainstream part of it, but I just think that if you can be relatable, you know, if you can engage a bit better with your crowd or your guests, I think that's the key to Flair.
Mm.
I don't know if that ends up on TV or whatever. I don't know, but I think that it's much more than just the actual skill of flaring bottles. I think it is about the presentation and the engagement of that guest, and that I just think that what Olya and Ivan are doing is cool. It's different, um, and and props to them for that. I think. Does that make sense? Or does that sound like a
Yeah.
load of?
No, no, it's good, pretty good. I mean, like I said, I mean, I always try to find it interesting where, like, when you mark in a flair competition, sometimes if you got someone doing amazing moves and everything else, and they haven't got a smile on their face, they haven't got that kind of approachable an effect on you, where somebody can do something small and elegant, and it would just knock people's socks off, and that's the whole point. It's a connection between you and the audience all the time. So.
The biggest criticism I would have of certain flair routines, so, guys who are perhaps not scoring as well as they think they should for the quality of their flair. Well, you've got to land it and execute it, and you've got to get a cheer in exchange. That's how it works. Look at like Marek Puslusny, mate, it's fucking unbelievable on stage. Like you can't help but like the guy. You just root for him, and it so happens
Yeah.
his flair's a well. But I think it's really important. You don't have to be like him. There's a million ways to do it, but I think you have to be, you have to involve
Yeah.
people into flair. Otherwise, you're just the arrogant show off behind the bar, as opposed to the guy who's trying to. I'm working for you. That's the
Yeah.
thing. You and your experience. I think.
Tell you what, you've got a nice bird in your background doing some whistling.
Yeah.
Can
Tranquility of Meadow Close,
it's really
mate. There you go.
cool. Okay, accidents and bruises. What's
Ooh,
the worst? What's the biggest thing you've broken, and the worst accident you've had in flaring?
good question. I can't really think, mate, of too many things. I got a story, man. Honestly, I was thinking about these for this, Rob, and we had this. Haymarket was like, man. We had this. It was cockroach infestation, and they've had Metro down who was doing all the pest control at the time and couldn't sort it out. And these guys were like, you'd see them
Yeah.
regularly. I don't know where they were. Anyway, geezer called Jose, or Jose, Portuguese fella. He's got the Collins glasses off dish, in the Collins the racks, and he's
Yeah.
gone to stand up to what is the side of the service bar, and he's slipped, bless him, and he's fallen into the wall. And this wall, mate, he's gone through the tiles, and it's just exploded with a bajillion cockroaches. They were living in this particular wall.
Oh,
Oh, mate, honestly, it was unbelievable. It was like the wall went. I was there. I was on front bar, and everyone was like, to be fair, to the management, they actually closed the store that day and got it sorted out, because this has been going on for weeks. Just didn't know what was going on with these things. Uh,
no.
but yeah, that's what happened, man. Yeah.
Did you have any big accidents though? Stitches or bruises?
Yeah, a million bruises and things. God, yeah. I don't know, mate. Oh no, I tell you what, I have got one. I've got one. Where is it? It was Andy Hunt. Where was it? I've got a nick on my finger somewhere. I can probably find it. It's one of these. Oh, there it is. It's right there. And he's, like people used to pop bottles, beer bottles.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
Yeah,
popped it. Sometimes, like you get it wrong, and the whole top would shear off.
yeah.
So he's done it. He's in Nottingham Fridays, and he's left it on the service bar because he's popped it, because it was from the service bar then. That particular store, the service bar was at the back of the bar, and he's popped it, and this thing's got, and he's like, oh, fine. So he's gone to do whatever he's gone to, presumably to trash the ice or whatever it was, and
Yeah.
he's and I've just seen his bottle, and went to chuck it in the bin. I've grabbed it, mate, and honestly, like, just the blood everywhere. It was horrendous. I was not happy with it.
I think it was like my first. I think I must be accident prior. I think the first time I got stitches was in Lakeside, and I was trying to do where one bottle there, and throw another bottle and catch it just there, and it smashed onto there, and I pushed my thumb onto the bottle, and
Oh,
just basically I was only been on the bar like about a year or so, and I got stitches in my my finger there. And the second time I got was in Haymarket, and they used to have them sugar dispensers, and I put it down, and the bottom smashed at the bottom of the actual thing, and I picked it up, and somehow I slipped my thumb, and I was the AM. I was on the Saturday morning of Haymarket, and there was a Flair comp going on around the corner, and I was the only bartender working, so I had to go with these napkins on my hand like this and just carry on serving. It was just like just getting through the shift, like with all these napkins all typed up to my hands and stuff. So, but yeah, complete bleeder I was. So
but
yeah, so.
yeah, I saw in your questions, like, you asked me any accidents ever hit a guest. There wasn't too much that you wouldn't expect. I mean, Christ, I broke a lot of bottles. We all did. I'm not
You have
saying
to
that.
watch Roadhouse one.
Collins glasses. Remember those ones that used to
Oh,
explode like into a million pieces? I,
yeah.
I, I just love to break them, and the little highballs. It
But I've done a few, remember though. When you smash a glass, it didn't explode. Not back in them days. For some
no,
reason, it's a chip.
it was a different glass. It sheared like that, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It used to just, yeah, it was just, just completely thing. So, right, here we go. Mixology, Flair, and Bartender. So yeah, so obviously, like, have you ever done any mixology competitions, or has it just
Yeah,
been like bartending?
yeah,
Yeah, how did you do?
all right. I thought it was a show. I got a nod for that. It was a wild turkey one, and I said, if you want to know how big in flavour wild turkey is, you only have to look at Rambo, First Blood Part 2. John Rambo drinks wild turkey. There you go. I got a big cheer, and I made it. I had a bit of fun with it. To be honest with you, it was a fun thing. We
Yeah.
had a so I don't think
Because I think I did one with I did it with Nicholas at the time, Nicholas St. John, and it was really really weird because like it seemed to be like the mixologists didn't like Flair bartenders, and Flair bartenders, I don't know, they seem to be okay with mixologists, but there was always this kind of like I think mixology, we need them as well as they need us kind of thing because while they're coming up with amazing recipes, gives us something to throw around
yeah,
in a long run. Because I say, let's be honest, like porn star martini is like everywhere now. I mean, literally mojito, porn star martini. So obviously, some mixologists along the way made it, and we end up throwing it around. But at the same time, we still need them as well as they need us to do the volumes of the cocktails. So, but obviously, what's your view on mixology, flair bartending, and bartending?
I think it's, at the end of the day, it's just bartending, isn't it? Just making drinks.
Yeah,
We're not saving lives. I think that it's really cool. I really enjoyed learning about spirits. I went through a couple of years of like really, I've read a lot of books and just really enjoyed it. I thought that was a really cool skill to have.
mm,
I'm not obviously not a mixologist. I understand it and respect it. And I think I've got a reasonable palate. I sort of balance the drink
mm,
for you and stuff like that. Um, the flair side of it, I think flair's wicked as long as like, if someone's at the bar and you catch a bottle in the back of your hand, then that's great. But if you can catch a bottle in the back of the hand and just say hello to someone and engage some way and bring them into that, it's completely different. It's another skill. So the point I'm getting at is, yeah, it's. Oh, sorry, Rob. I'm down to
that's
10% on my. No, yeah, in answer to your question, I think it's all just bartending. I think you can do, um, you know, lots of flair guys have gone over to the mixo world and learned about it, but it's good service and experiences for your guests.
yeah.
I think that's.
I think the masters is that really, isn't it? Because masters is obviously like flair, liquor knowledge, recipes. So it covers the full spectrum. And when you think about bartending, you think to yourself, do you know what? That actually covers everything, that you should be. And if you want to go a little bit further with it,
Yeah,
then I think there should be
yeah,
things that you can go onto, like master classes in wine tasting or just like
yeah,
spirits and
definitely.
stuff. So
The
do
more you
you,
learn in anything in life.
yeah, you got to keep on pushing the boundaries and looking for the next best thing, really, don't you?
Yeah. Take something like real simple. Like we serve a June bug at my place, and it's a June bug, right? But we make it with lemon juice and gum, not to be wanky or anything like that. It's a better drink because it's fresh. That's all it is. So there's definitely a crossover. You can still make an accessible disco drink, but at the end of the day, it's just a long citrusy rum punch, isn't it? That's what it is. So.
I'll tell you, the one thing I was when coming on to Flair again, I remember like when you won, I don't even know what competition. I was judging it, so I should know. And you won the Flair. It was to do with the Flair. I don't know who was doing best bartender at the time, and I was judging it. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah, I
And
do.
you was doing an ultimate,
Yeah,
and not too sure whether you had it here. I think you had it there.
yeah,
Well, I guess so. But
yeah,
you basically dropped it onto your hand at my feet. So you came around to the other side of the bar, and I still
yeah,
remember it today.
yeah,
And you was so like when people do this and they go down to your hand, I think, oh, that's cool, that's really good. But you actually went from there and you dropped it, and you literally took it from about 6 inches from the ground. You literally landed it there. Is this something you've been practicing at that time, or did you just like just thought give it a go, see how it goes? Because it was
No,
absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing.
thanks, mate. That's kind. So that was November 2004. That was what that was, and I thought I was strong. It was me and Jay Detois were probably the two guys who were maybe coming into it as like the favourites or stronger the Flair guys in that year. There were other guys who were really good as well. And I just remember thinking, Bayswater was really tight. You couldn't see anything. So I'd used the bar twice. I'd done this little move with the Jose Cuervo, which I banged on the bounce mat and made it look like it had bounced up from the other side of the bar that people couldn't see. And then I thought I'd come to the other side of the bar. And it was just like, the ultimate move is actually my move. And I'm really proud of that. I did Nottingham in 2003. And the first time I did it, Miller Taylor went, fuck off. It was a cool place. I was captain there. And I just put the ultimate there. And then just to sort of pop it down to my hand was an extension of that. And then actually, though you're right, it did catch it really low. I actually catch it a lot higher than that. I catch it about thigh height and then just go down way to the floor with it. And it looks like, so it's a bit of a cop out, but it's like anything, isn't it? It's the engagement. It's being real. It's like, I wanted to make sure that the judges knew that, this was a special show, and I didn't, I don't have to come up with new moves.
I still remember it today, so it must have been good.
Is there any higher praise than that? That's awesome, man. I appreciate that.
Because even that year, John O'Perry won the best bartender.
Yeah.
Was it 2004? Obviously, he won the Flair. So 2 Haymarket bartenders there. Also, Rick Leonard won newcomer.
Rick Leonard won newcomer. He did the cocktail poem on the bar. He was very confident, to be fair.
Yeah. And Chaz and Leon won tandem that year as well.
Tom Mountain and I.
Yeah. So also you won. So in 2000, which year you won? Actually, 2006, you won individual Flair as well.
Yeah.
And then in obviously when you go 2007, Tony Adams, it's quite amazing. Best bartender, European as well, and world champion. So obviously the Europeans, where was that? Was that Oslo?
Oslo.
Yeah, good.
Mate, it was unbelievable, Rob. That was the best comp I ever did, best I ever was in a routine. It was unbelievable. I can't tell you how much fun I had that place. It was wicked. It was a great time.
So when we talk about routine, so you obviously there's a Flair routine and there's a best bartender routine, sort of routine.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for something like this? I mean, obviously people are going to do a world finals, only a few people get to do them. And you've got a lot of interest. I mean, I posted a thing saying obviously we was going to do this interview, and a lot of people would like, yeah, I can't wait to obviously listen to what you got to say. So obviously a lot of people will be watching this going, so what tips would you give to anyone getting ready for World Championships?
Okay. It's a big old broad question. So what advice would I give to people? Okay, so here's how I approached it. Let's do it like that, rather than me sort of offering out tips. I think you've got to sort of listen to everyone and go, well, how did that person do it, and kind of figure out what's best for you. I knew that I was learning international drinks, so I was behind the 8 ball against the 4 American guys, and 2 of the 3 internationals. I was obviously the 4th international. They would be making international drinks day to day. So I think I was like, right, okay, I've got an issue here. So it was their sensitivities. So I'm saying they're international. So look, I basically went, you've got to be as tight as you can. You can't win it on day one in the technicals, but you can lose it. So you need to be solid. Just solid is good. Anything in the top 4, and you can go out on second day and smoke them. That's what I said to myself. I said that if you're gonna do this, you're working the busiest TGI Fridays in the world, and we're not filling up Cokes all day. So you're gonna win the speed bar, Tony. You're gonna have to do that. As it goes, didn't win the speed bar, came second because I put an Irish coffee. I didn't have the little wee gap at the top. So ours is to the brim. International at the time with the little thing of 3/4 of an inch.
Did you layer cream or did you AWC?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I see like on the speed round, like when I did it, I saw other bar because I layered mine because obviously you're doing UK style, and then the American bars, watching the Americans and whatever, and they got the AWC out. It was like, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, my year was actually layer cream, but yeah, So look, that was the technical side of it, and then day two, I was like, okay, this is only a bartending competition, but it's a big deal to me, especially at the time. It's a big deal, and I was like, right,
Yeah.
you're going to be under pressure, you're going to feel nervous, so you've got to do what you do every day on the bar. And the only way you're going to win this, and the only way I want to win this, is if I am doing what I do every single day. So whether you come and see me on a Monday AM, Saturday night, or so happens in Oslo or Las Vegas, you're getting the same experience. And so I had probably, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 seconds, like things that I would do at work, little routines, variety of different objects. I obviously had the ultimate glass and things like this. And so wherever it went, I felt confident that I could pick something to go with. So if someone's going to have this drink, then I knew that I could flip this particular bottle 10 times, bumping it on your hands real quick. And I was like, so I'd say to the judges, pick a number between 1 and 10. And the geezer actually in Oslo said 1. I went, perfect. I flipped it once. I went, that's great. You can come again. Pick a number between 1 and 10 to Martina Lichkrobieva. Is that how you say it? And she said 7. So I flipped it 7 times. So I had like probably 20 things like that, a bottle and tin sequence, the working bottle sequence. I had, 2 tin bottle, I had 2 bottle tin, I had 3 bottle, I had 4 bottle if I needed it, although I had no intention of doing 3 or 4 bottle unless I absolutely needed it. I had my moves that were original, and I thought, I know that they're going to be looking for the most legit bartender, because 2 years earlier, Pete had won it. And Pete is the most legit bartender you'll ever meet in your life. That geezer is there you go. There's the answer to your question. Pete Marshall. There you go. He's going to keep saying that. Well, he should do. But he's a brilliant bartender. Bang average Flair, but a brilliant bartender. You could take that to the bank, Pete. But he won 2 years earlier by being legit, and I thought, okay, so and that's what I did, mate. And that's the advice I would give to people: be yourself. Don't try and come up with new routines and moves for a world final, because you're going to drop them, and you're probably going to give it away. Be strong and dangerous, but you
I always remember. I always remember when I first met Pete. Pete was like, he just came across like a cabbie. It's like, all right, like, so I was like, all right, how you doing? It's like, it's like, it's just, all of a sudden, it just felt like I was in the back of a taxi cab having a chat with him. So, but yeah, I love the guy, absolutely awesome. So hopefully I'll get an interview with him soon. So yeah, it'd be absolutely brilliant. So, so you said,
mate, I don't know so bear with me. I'm going to walk for the house, and we're going to go and put it on charge. Is that all right?
Yeah, no worries, cool, man. So while you're walking, so tell me a little bit more about Oslo.
So Oslo, I got there, mate, and probably the first overriding memory of Oslo is I didn't know if they spoke English or not, which is crazy to think that everyone in Oslo or Norway and Sweden as well speak the most perfect English you could ever imagine. I laugh at that now, but that was the situation. So got to Oslo. I said to the Dub and Carl Johan Fridays, I was like, hi, I'm here for the competition this weekend or this week, whatever. Do you guys speak English? And she was like, yeah, we everyone speaks perfect English. And we got there. I met the guy who was representing Scandinavia. So he's sort of Norwegian and Swedish champion called Bo Larsen. And he worked at Carl Johan Fridays. He was a very good bartender, to be fair to him. He was kind of like the home favourite. It was his home bar, and I was thinking, Christ, he's the guy to beat. So it was an amazing bar. I don't know if you've ever been to it, but it was called a Fab, Friday's American Bar, and it was next door to the restaurant. So you go in, and you had this like amphitheatre sort of balcony looking over the bar. It was like an island bar there, and it was, mate, Rob, honestly, it was heaving. People up the stairs, round the balcony. Man, it was the most incredible atmosphere. It was unbelievable. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the best comp I've ever had. So.
Yeah, no, because I ran into when I done my world finals, I was up against the guy who basically representing the Oslo one, and because we, how it's like in competition, and his name's Jay Tucker.
Yeah,
and Jay Tucker's so Jay was like obviously I've known him from the UK's and everything else, and I don't like saying stories, but this one's quite a good story. And I also understand what he was saying, because he was saying, because at the time Blue Water just got the world record in sales. which 173,000 it was, and that was Blue Water, and Blue Water was like winning everything at the time, and we was meant to get recognised for it, and so because I was wearing this cap with Blue Water, and it had 173 written on the side, and he turned around to me and he was like going, I think you'll find that uh, that Oslo's got the busiest Fridays in the world, like
Yeah,
this.
on
And I
exchange
was
rate.
like, oh, okay, like this, because you know me, I don't do confrontation. So I was like, okay, like this. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure you're right. And then on day, I think it was day 2, they do the awards, don't they? Where they give out all the awards. And the record for the most sales in the world go to Blue Water. And it was like, so I was like, like smugness. It was
Yeah,
like trying to be cool. And I was like, just walk past Jay, just going like, ah, it's all right. That is. And it
but
was just one of them moments where you just go, but I probably, because I understand it's quite a nightclub as well, isn't it?
yeah,
So I can imagine they probably, I don't know how they work it out. So they might do like bar sales and then obviously nightclub sales. Whether they combine them together, I don't know. But it was a funny story. But I had the last laugh. This so say. So
good on.
I was saying, never was it, never was it, never show emotion, never lose your cool. So
That's it.
yeah, so
Go.
cocktail.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. So I had like,
Oh,
I got
right.
me sort of behind back on it, so it wasn't too bad. So yeah, so obviously not only a few people get to experience becoming a world champion. So how did it feel?
Relief, mate. Honestly, because it was such a long run. It was my final was February, late February 2008, and I'd said for New Year's Eve I was going to drink nothing but water, and I was going to take a really. I was really disciplined. To be fair, I was. And at the end of it, I was just knackered, relieved, delighted. It was some experience, mate. I felt sensational about it, but the overall emotion was just like it was all worth it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not that it wouldn't be worth it in hindsight, but it just felt great. It was. You just don't know, do you, mate? You just don't know. There's 8 people, and certainly wasn't my final, but they're all there for a reason. They're all good.
Mm. Well,
So
it's different. I mean, to be class world champion in anything in the world is an amazing achievement, and no matter whether you win it 2007 or you win it like, you know, like in the future, it's still an amazing achievement, and no one will take that away from you. So obviously, well done. I found it quite like things change all the time. I mean, I won when I won the UK's in 2002, and then I won it again this year, well, last year. And the difference is a difference. I mean,
mm,
because technology has changed. And 2002, I got a pat on the back from my mum, and that's about it. And
yeah, no,
then, and this
I,
year, I wasn't ready for it. This year, like my phone just went berserk. It just was like ping, 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 ping. And I was like, this is just crazy. For 3 days, my phone didn't stop. And it was just like one of them ones where I think if you like for instance, like Jeff Meston and all the people that have won it in the past, Lee Miller, I don't think they could ever understand like winning it today, how different it is to winning it back then, just through social media. Social media is like one of
yeah,
them ones where we talk about the future of like everything. I mean, if you do something on like any form of platform, you can. I mean, some of the Flair bartenders doing really well now. Tom Dyer's doing
yeah.
incredible, so I think that's where the future is. Definitely. So, but yeah, as I said, like not many. I think I was obviously so blessed this year, last year again, to actually win the Flair as well as best bartender, because obviously same. I'm in your club. So I think there's only been a few.
I'm not in your club. You've won all kinds over a long, long period of time, Rob.
No, no, I mean, I say like, no, I mean, it's just been an absolute pleasure, obviously talking to you today. Absolutely been awesome. but obviously, like we're gonna wrap this up a little bit. So we're gonna do. Is there any like thing you want to confess to? Because I do this thing called with Rob,
Yeah.
with Reverend Rob. So you get to confess something, and I actually like forgive you, kind of thing.
I,
So is there anything?
I was a real cowboy with breakdown. There you go. I was a terrible breakdown guy. I would do anything. I'd tip out barbacks more, do whatever it took to get to Planet Hollywood that bit quicker. So you go, mate. That's my
That's a good one. It's a good one. I was like, okay, I have to do this, don't I? I have to do this. Right, you're blessed and everything else. So no, as I said, like I mean, so if someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they go about getting in touch?
Tony Adams Bar. I'm on Instagram's my favourite. I'm on obviously Facebook as well, and Twitter. But yeah, man, just hit me up, give me a shout. Any of the Fridays guys out there, any sort of to know a little bit more about my experience or journey, then or any of the sort of broader bartending community or anyone, help. The door's always open in that respect. No problem what that was.
Do appreciate, and again, thank you so much for today. I mean, so many questions been asked for me to ask you, and also most of them been mine anyway, because obviously, like we've crossed paths loads of times, and today's been really enjoyable, and I really enjoyed today.